Coming up next on KPBS Evening Edition, labor groups issue a report card on the voting records of San Diego City Council members. We'll tell you your representative's grade, and we'll let you know why you will soon have to pay for shopping bags in Solana Beach. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Peggy Pico. The attorney for Michael Crow, who was 14 when he was wrongfully accused of killing his sister Stephanie in 1998, was in court today asking for a rare ruling stating he was factually innocent of the crime.
The Escondido Police Department knew that but for their officer being too lazy to get out of his car, Stephanie Crow would be alive and would not have been murdered.
Richard Tewitt, who was seen prowling in the neighborhood, was convicted in the killing and is in state prison. Stephanie Crow's blood was found on 2 shirts worn by Tewitt the night of the killing. Sewage spills flowing down the Tijuana River and into the Pacific Ocean have closed 3 San Diego beaches, the Borderfield State Park, Imperial Beach, and Silver Strand. A software malfunction at the International Wastewater Treatment Plant triggered the first spill on April 4th. Then on Tuesday, a pipe in Tijuana burst. Between the 2 spills, more than 4.5 million gallons of raw sewage spilled into the river. The 3 South County beaches will remain closed until health officials determine that the water is safe for humans. San Diego's bond rating got an upgrade from Standard & Poor's. The city now has a AA- rating, up 2 notches from our previous ranking. S&P says the upgrade reflects improvements in the city's financial practices. And a new report says San Diego streets are going from bad to worse. The county grand jury says only 10% of the city's streets are in good condition, and it says the mayor's proposed budget would barely maintain the status quo. The grand jury called on the city council to make a formal commitment to improving the roads. San Diego's convention center expansion has been a main issue in the mayoral race. Our partner investigative news source analyzed campaign contributions and found the local hospitality industry prefers one candidate over the others. Reporter Ryan Grochowski joins us in the newsroom. And Ryan, what did your analysis find?
We looked at campaign donations given by any person connected to a company that could potentially benefit from the convention center expansion, like hotels, caterers, even parking lot owners, and so on. And we found that candidate Carl DeMaio received more money, nearly 3 times as much, than any of his competitors. Some of those donations came from Convention and Tourism Bureau board members who are now in charge of convention center marketing. The amount of these donations is a small fraction of the money Carl DeMaio has raised, but it says a lot when it's compared to his other components.
And that was my next question. What does all this mean?
Well, Mr. DeMaio has been an ardent supporter of the convention center expansion and the hotel room tax that will help fund it. So it makes sense that the hotel and hospitality industry would back him. When I asked Mr. DeMaio about what their support means, he stated on his general message that their expectations are like any other of his donors, that they believe that he is the right person for the job.
So not talking about where the money is coming from and their particular jobs. How did the other candidates stack up?
Well, Bonnie Dumanis and Nathan Fletcher support the convention center expansion, but they have raised some concerns about the financing behind it. And they both received several $1,000s from the hospitality industry, including a few donations from Convis board members. And Congressman Bob Filner, who's been quite outspoken in opposing the expansion and the hotel tax, not surprisingly received very little money from hotel owners.
Thank you, Ryan Grochowski. Our partner with Investigative News Source is following campaign money for KPBS. And if you'd like more information on their analysis, go to our website, kpbs.org. A new poll shows rising support for Governor Jerry Brown's November tax initiative. The survey by the Public Policy Institute of California shows 54% of likely voters are in favor of the measure. That's up 2% from last month. The measure would raise money for schools by temporarily increasing the sales tax by a quarter cent. It would also raise income taxes of those who earn more than $250,000 a year. Solana Beach has become the first city in San Diego County to ban plastic bags. Within 3 months, retailers and restaurants will have to drop single-use plastic bags. However, they will be able to offer paper bags for 10 cents each. 4 San Diegans were honored today for exhibiting extraordinary courage. Among them was Osvi Harris. He was just 7 years old when he was caught in a gang crossfire and used his body to shield his 2-year-old niece, saving her life.
Basically, some cars pulled on the lot, and then they had got out. I heard the shooting, the gunshots. My first instinct was to cover my little cousin. So I covered her. She didn't get hit. But, I took the shots.
San Diego County District Attorney Bonnie DeManis presented the 23rd Annual Citizens of Courage Awards to Harris and to Cristinio Martinez for stopping a violent assault, and to Timothy Ricker, who lifted a car off a pregnant woman trapped in a drunken driving crash. The experience led Ricker to quit his job and start a business that gives rides to people who have had too much to drink. A Camp Pendleton Marine has pleaded not guilty to the murder of another Marine's wife. Staff Sergeant Luis Perez says is the second person charged in the killing of 22-year-old Brittany Kilgore. Investigators say Perez was the last person seen with Kilgore before she disappeared earlier this month. They are not saying how Perez or Kilgore are connected to the other suspect in the case. 25-year-old Jessica Lopez also pleaded not guilty to the murder. The San Onofre nuclear power plant has been offline since the end of January because cracks were discovered in tubes inside the new steam generator. Now there's a growing movement to keep it shut down permanently. Last night, Solana Beach City Council members were urged to tell federal regulators to oppose relicensing of the plant. Earlier this week, the city of Irvine in Orange County did just that. Here with me today is Arnie Gunderson, former nuclear executive and author of a report for the Friends of the Earth environmental group. Arnie, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So my first question is, what did you tell the Solana Beach City Council members?
Well, inside these steam generators that have developed a crack, there's 19,000 pipes, about the size of my finger, and they're vibrating. So they're colliding with each other, and the leak that was created was small, and Southern California Edison shut down quickly. What I told them, though, is that if it went more than about a day, that leak would have cut the pipe entirely, and instead of a very small issue, it would have become a very large issue, likely shutting down I-5.
Okay, now you're talking about this, and the Irvine City Council also had a recommendation that they put in, but we're years out from relicensing. Why do it now?
Well, it takes, I'm assuming that California is going to be a contentious hearing. In some states where there's no interest in the nuclear power plant, a license can get extended in 2 or 3 years. But in contentious hearings, like in Massachusetts, that process has taken 8 to 10 years. So Southern California Edison's got to expect that contentious hearing, and it's most likely going to have to notify the NRC in 2013 because it's about a 10-year process.
So we've got a 10-year process notification, so we're kind of backtracking to 2013, and we have these problems. Southern California Edison, they operate the plant, and a representative made a media statement after the Irvine City Council meeting, and here's what they said. They said relicensing is not their concern right now. Specifically, they said, we are really now focused on the safe operation of that plant and summer reliability. Those are the two things that are paramount right now. How would you respond to that? Are they taking enough responsibility in this?
Well, as long as the plants are shut down, obviously that's the right thing to do. They don't know what caused the problem, and staying shut down until they do is the right thing to do. As far as not being prepared for the license extension, there's publications that say that they in fact had anticipated this generator would run 40 or 50 years. So they were clearly expecting to extend the license, and I think they will.
A lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, some people are calling for the permanent shutdown at San Onofre. Is that sort of an alarmist reaction to these tubes, or is that something you're in support of?
Well, Fukushima's taught us two things, and the tsunami issue and earthquake issue, both of which they have here. That's thing number one. And the next thing is the emergency planning. My biggest professional concern is emergency planning. There's two sites that are the worst in the country. One is Indian Point, which is right outside of New York, and the other one is San Onofre, which, of course, is within 50 miles or 8 million people.
Why do you say they're the worst sites, especially the San Onofre one?
Well, the population density in the area within 50 miles of San Onofre is about 8 times higher than the population density around Fukushima. And we know how hard it was to evacuate Fukushima. So in the event of an accident at San Onofre, getting 8 million people out is an unheard of task and an unplanned for task.
Right, if there was a problem that needed evacuation. We've only got a little bit of time left, so what would you like to see happen with San Onofre at this point?
Well, it's got to stay down until they figure out what's caused the breaks. Mitsubishi, the people that made it, have said that they're not going to be prepared to understand it until September. So I think the state of California needs to be prepared for a summer without San Onofre.
All righty. Arnie Gunderson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
California was without nuclear power today after a swarm of jellyfish-like creatures forced the shutdown of the Diablo Canyon power plant in San Luis Obispo County. Intake pipes for the seawater became clogged with salp, threatening the plant's cooling system. Plant operators shut down the plant, leaving the state briefly without nuclear power generation, which ordinarily accounts for about 14% of the state's electricity mix. The plant will remain offline until the salp migrate elsewhere. And coming up, we'll hear the results of a report card on the voting records of San Diego City Council members. And we'll tell you about a plan to reunite San Diego communities divided by freeways.
Tonight on KPBS at 8, which San Diego community owes its name to 3 silent movie stars? Also, the official town dog of San Diego and a backcountry ghost named Hobie on Ken Kramer's About San Diego. Then at 8:30 on California's Gold, Huell Hauser's off to Frogtown for the Calaveras County Fair and Jumping Frog Jubilee. And at 9, Maggie plans to leave Joe again, and Louisa packs a bag and takes the baby back home to her mom on Doc Martin. That's tonight on KPBS.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour, the future of the U.S. Postal Service. That's Thursday on the PBS NewsHour.
The American people
have named PBS the most trusted source of news
and public affairs
for the 8th year
in a row.
Trust.
The American people have spoken.
Thank you.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Irwin Jacobs and by
San Diego labor groups just issued a report card on the voting records of San Diego City Council members. The council members were graded on more than 24 issues relevant to working families. Joining me to talk about the Working Families Report Card is Lorena Gonzalez, the CEO of San Diego and Imperial County's Labor Council. Lorena, welcome.
Thank you.
So this was a little surprising to me. The highest grade on the report card was a B, but most of the city council members failed. How
Yes.
come?
Well, you're right. Marty Emerald had the highest score with an 87%, which is a solid B, but far too many failed. We had 5 Fs, a D- by Todd Gloria, and then David Alvarez also got a B. I think it's because we've seen a series of votes over the last 2 years that really do favor downtown corporate lobbyists, hotel interest, developers over the needs of their neighborhoods and working families. And I think that that's unfortunate. It's good and important that we focus on economic growth in general in San Diego, but not at the expense of the workers. And I think that that's what we've been seeing.
Well, The report card had some unusual, we could take a look at it as far as what kinds of issues were being addressed on the report card. So how do some of these issues actually impact a worker? It's up on the screen now. Advocacy for transit, all right, we can see that. Affordable housing, public safety cuts. How do these things actually address workers' issues?
Well, you know, the 24 votes that they were actually scored on are the 24 votes that the Labor Council, the only organization in San Diego that works on behalf of workers, union and non-union, to advocate for pro-worker policies, lobbied on, or brought worker advocates to lobby on. And so we used the exact votes that we had actually talked to these council members about, both publicly and in private meetings. And so that was a list of 24, and we think that they are all worker-related. I know people have asked about pension reform. How is that worker related? Well, it's very directly related to the new hires at the city. As workers come in, they're going to be hired on without even necessarily the safety net of Social Security. That affects not only that worker, but if we see that spread, this idea that retirement security is now this thing of the past, that we're going to start having a retirement program that's based completely on Wall Street and the whims of Wall Street, without even the basic safety net of Social Security, that affects every worker in the private sector as well. And I think it's a concern for everybody.
So of the 24, what is your, I guess, aside from or including the 24, what is your overall assessment of how well working families are doing here in San Diego right now?
Well, you know, we have obviously unemployment issues, but even a bigger issue is underemployment. We have people in our neighborhoods who are working 2, sometimes 3 jobs and still can't meet ends meet. And that is a culture of San Diego that has gone on for far too long. And while we're looking at economic growth, we're looking at it in the tourism industry. So we have a $1 billion tax hike. And a lot of the votes on the scorecard were related to the convention center expansion. A $1 billion tax hike that a vast majority of these council members voted for and placed upon people who are going to travel to San Diego, but then let the hotel industry decide how to spend that without any protections for the type of jobs that are going to be created, how much those jobs are going to have to be subsidized by public agencies like food stamps and low-income housing. No discussion about that, just a giveaway to the hotel industry. It was very, very disappointing year.
Well, let me ask you this. Does this report have any impact? I mean, what is the point of issuing this report? I mean, I'm sure you're hopeful it does, but does it really?
Well, I'll tell you this. A number of those council members come before the Labor Council, before unions, and when they're running for office, they proclaim certain things. They're going to be for workers. They're going to be not only a good vote, but they're going to be an advocate for low-wage workers, for the middle class. And so I think we spend a lot of our time, probably too much time in labor, communicating that during an election, right? We spend time, we go and talk to voters, we talk to middle class voters, low wage voters, union voters, and say, this is what this council member says they're going to do. All we wanted to do is say, okay, did they actually do that? And if not, let's communicate that to the voters as well. So that's the timing of it. And you know, I got to think if people, and they do continue to come before us and make these proclamations, that when it gets out there, what they've actually performed, that's going to matter as well.
Let me ask you very quickly, we only have about 20 seconds left. People may accuse unions of using this for a political reason and as being part of the partisan gridlock. How would you answer that as far as this report card and its policies or its political agenda?
Well, interestingly, you know, we're a nonpartisan group, and we, even before this new fad of becoming independent, have proclaimed the fact that we are not just going to support people because they're Democrats. That's been our position all along, but we've been very emphatic about that this year. There are 2 Democratic council members who are running for re-election that we're not supporting. One we're going to aggressively not support, Sherry Leitner in District 1, because it doesn't matter if somebody's a Democrat. What matters is, are they willing to stand up for workers? Are they willing to stand up for a middle class, for low-wage workers? And if they're not, we're not going to support them. It has nothing to do with partisanship. It has to do with economic policy and social justice.
All right, Lorena Gonzalez, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
A great white shark was killed after getting caught in a fishing net off the Sea of Cortez. Researchers tagged the shark off the Northern California coast in the late 1990s. The female shark was about 20 feet long and weighed 4,000 pounds and may have been in the Sea of Cortez to give birth. The Santa Cruz Sentinel reports that 2 fishermen in the Mexican state of Sonora accidentally caught the shark in a net cast from a small fishing boat. Freeways are designed to move traffic, yet they can also divide and devastate neighborhoods. But there's a way for those communities to get themselves tied back together. KPBS reporter Tom Fudge tells us about freeway lids and what they could mean for the future of San Diego's divided communities.
San Diego native Lou Palestini was born and raised in Little Italy.
I grew up in the two-story house, the red color house over there. My grandmother lived upstairs.
But Little Italy has changed a lot since Palestini was born in 1942. In the early 70s, the tuna fishing industry quickly declined. That began an exodus from Little Italy that was accelerated when the I-5 freeway tore through the area at about the same time.
That freeway, what it did to us, it cut us in half.
And this is not the only near-downtown neighborhood that was devastated by the I-5. So says Marco Lamandri, president of New City America.
It killed Middletown. It killed, for a while, Little Italy. It killed Barrio Logan. I mean, the S-curve basically takes the freeway and goes around downtown, so it didn't hurt commercial properties. It went through neighborhoods.
A lot of damage has been done, but there is something you can do about these deep gouges in the urban landscape. Vicky Estrada, president of Estrada Land Planning, says try to imagine this stretch of I-5 between downtown and Balboa Park Bankers Hill covered by a freeway lid.
Instead of seeing all this concrete and hearing all this noise, what we could see, a number of different things. We could see a park with trees and grass and playgrounds and sports fields, perhaps.
As its name suggests, a freeway lid is a concrete shelf that covers a sunken freeway, allowing development on top of it. If you go to the I-15 in City Heights, you don't need your imagination to see what it can do. This may look like an ordinary San Diego park in City Heights, but beneath me, the traffic on the I-15 is going a mile a minute. I'm standing on a freeway lid, which was built by Caltrans about a dozen years ago. Over in Los Angeles, Park 101 is a proposal to cap several blocks of Highway 101 near downtown. Folks at LA Metro say freeway lids can turn noisy ruts into useful public space.
Being able to capture back the value of that airspace above those freeways and being able to put that back in the public hands.
So, why not cap all our sunken freeways to create parks and reconnect neighborhoods? Well, putting a lid on just one block of I-15 in City Heights cost $70 million 15 years ago. The cost estimate for capping the I-5 between downtown and Balboa Park is just under $300 million. Marco Lamandri with New City America was born in Little Italy, and he spent years working on the neighborhood's redevelopment. Standing atop the City Heights freeway lid, he argues the cost of capping a freeway is prohibitive, and money in City Heights would have been better spent buying land and creating linear parks alongside the I-15.
If you were looking to try to maximize green area and parks within the mid-city area, which is probably the most under-parked area in the city in terms of relative density, I think that this was not the way to do it.
Lamandri gives the example of Ward Canyon Park, just north of the City Heights freeway lid at Adams Avenue in I-15, as a better investment and a park that gets more public use. Developing this park cost only $1.5 million. Lamandri says acquiring the land in the 1990s was probably less than $5 million. Vicky Estrada says depending on circumstances, the high cost of a freeway lid may be worth it. She adds that her great-grandmother owned a home in Sherman Heights that was demolished to make room for the I-5. She says the plans for freeway lids downtown are visionary.
And I think it's a great vision that would go a long way to reconnecting the neighborhoods that were severed many years ago by the freeway.
Seen in another way, urban freeways don't really destroy neighborhoods, they redefine them. Little Italy, now bordered by the I-5 to the east, is smaller and less family-oriented than it used to be, but it's also bustling and prosperous thanks to years of redevelopment. You couldn't build a freeway lid here because in Little Italy, the I-5 is elevated, not sunken. Lou Palestini also wonders, even if you could reconnect his old neighborhood, what would be the point?
After so many years being divided, what are you going to bring back? Everybody's made their own ways again. You know what I'm saying?
Like it or not, Progress and the I-5 have changed the face of this old Italian community.
That was Tom Fudge reporting. Plans to build a freeway lid between downtown and Balboa Park have been a part of the downtown development plan created by the Center City Development Corporation. So far, no funding for the lid has been identified. The public square is up next. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
was the world's fastest human.
The quintessential Olympic hero.
But his triumph was in more than just a race.
The Olympics were to be a symbol of German racial superiority. Hitler was absolutely livid.
After winning all those gold medals, he expected the whole nation to love him. And here, the greatest athlete in America is being treated shabbily.
Jesse Owens on American Experience.
Tuesday at 8 on KPBS.
Hi, I'm Yul Kwan from the new PBS series, America Revealed. Make Wednesdays your destination for exploration. First, see what it takes to survive the first days of life in the wild on Nature. Next, on Nova, can a computer beat the best contestants on Jeopardy? Then, join me for America Revealed and see how we are all part of a new industrial revolution. This Wednesday, PBS is your destination for exploration.
Welcome back to the Public Square on KPBS Evening Edition. There's an ongoing discussion about our story yesterday on the Supreme Court's hearing of Arizona's controversial anti-immigration law. Here are a few comments we received. The user Peking Duck SD wrote about Arizona's Governor Jan Brewer. Brewer and her ilk like to pander to people with racist tendencies by throwing out veiled statements that imply certain races or certain classes of people are inherently evil or more prone to violent crime. The user Ben72 responded, I wasn't aware that the law specifically targeted skin color. I was under the impression it was about illegal immigration, and anybody suspected of that transgression would be asked to provide the appropriate documents. Colombian, Czech, Norwegian, Nepali. Does it really matter if they are here illegally? You can weigh in on any of the news stories you've seen here today by following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, or just email us at news@kpbs.org. Now here's a recap of tonight's top stories. Governor Jerry Brown's November tax initiative is gaining support. A poll released today by the Public Policy Institute of California shows 54% of likely voters are in favor of the measure. The measure would raise money for schools by temporarily increasing the sales tax by 1/4 cent. San Diego streets are going from bad to worse. That's according to a new report from San Diego County's grand jury. Only 10% of the city's streets are in good condition, and it says the mayor's proposed budget would barely maintain the status quo. And sewage spills originating in Tijuana have closed 3 San Diego beaches, the Borderfield State Park, Imperial Beach, and Silver Strand. More than 4.5 million gallons of raw sewage spilled into the Tijuana River and flowed into the Pacific Ocean. The beaches will remain closed until health officials determine that the water is safe. You can watch and comment on any of the stories you saw tonight on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening. We'll leave you with a look at the forecast.